He had 4 minutes to figure out what was killing him, and he already used 3 minutes and 58 seconds of it. The garage door was closed. It had been closed for 11 minutes. Marcus did not notice. He was thinking about the oil filter. The car was a 2009 Honda Civic with 160,000 miles on it. Marcus knew every sound it made, the slight hesitation on cold starts, the tick from the third cylinder that 3 different mechanics had told him not to worry about. He had been working on it every weekend for 6 years. It's the way some people tend gardens. Methodically, patiently, with the specific satisfaction of a man who fixes his own things. He had started the engine to check the idle after replacing the filter. Just for a minute, he told himself, just to make sure it was running right. He turned back to his workbench. He started organizing his tools. The engine ran. The garage door stayed closed. And something that had no color and no smell and no taste began to fill the space around him at a concentration that would double every 4 minutes. Marcus had no idea that was the whole problem. Carbon monoxide is produced whenever a carbon-based fuel burns incompletely. Gasoline, natural gas, propane, wood, coal, kerosene. Any fuel you have ever used to heat something or power something or cook something produces carbon monoxide when the combustion process does not have enough oxygen to complete itself fully. In open air, this is not a crisis. The molecules disperse. Concentration stays low. The atmosphere absorbs what any engine or furnace produces, and the effect on any individual person is negligible. In a closed space, it is a different calculation entirely. A standard car engine at idle produces carbon monoxide at a rate sufficient to raise the concentration in a standard 2-car garage from 0 to a lethal level in approximately 4 minutes under normal conditions. 4 minutes, the length of a song, the time it takes to make coffee, the duration of a phone call you take standing in the kitchen because you are almost done and it is not worth sitting down. 4 minutes is not a long time to figure out that something is wrong, especially when nothing about the situation announces itself as wrong. Especially when the wrongness is invisible and odorless and tasteless. And the first thing it does to your brain is make it harder to think clearly about what is happening to you. Here's the mechanism. Hemoglobin is the protein inside your red blood cells responsible for carrying oxygen from your lungs to every cell in your body. It does this because oxygen binds to it willingly and releases from it willingly at the other end. A perfect molecular transaction happening billions of times per minute in a healthy body, without any conscious input from you whatsoever. Carbon monoxide binds to hemoglobin too. The problem is the affinity. Oxygen binds to hemoglobin with a certain molecular attraction. Carbon monoxide binds to hemoglobin with an affinity 240 times greater than oxygen. 240 times. What this means in practice is that when carbon monoxide is present in the air you breathe, it does not compete fairly with oxygen for hemoglobin binding sites. It does not compete at all in any meaningful sense. It simply occupies, efficiently, completely. The hemoglobin that was supposed to carry oxygen to your brain and your heart and every other organ that requires continuous oxygenation is now carrying something that releases from it almost never. Your heart is beating, your lungs are breathing, your circulatory system is functioning in every mechanical sense. But the cargo is wrong. Trucks are running, but they are carrying the wrong thing, and nothing that needs oxygen is getting it. Your cells begin to starve, not quickly, not dramatically, not in a way that announces itself as an emergency. They starve the way a fire dies when you close the damper, slowly, quietly, while everything on the outside still looks fine. At 11 minutes, Marcus felt the first symptom, a headache. Not severe, not the kind that stops you. The kind that sits behind your eyes and makes the light feel slightly wrong. The kind you notice the way you notice a sound you cannot identify. Briefly, then you file it away and keep working. Marcus filed it away, kept working. At 17 minutes, the headache was worse, and he felt something he would later describe as fuzzy. Not dizzy exactly, not nauseous exactly. A reduction in the sharpness of things. The edges of his thoughts coming in slightly soft. The way a television looks when the signal is almost but not quite right. He thought he was tired. He had been working since 7 that morning. Tired made complete sense. At 22 minutes, he sat down on the concrete floor next to his toolbox. Because his legs felt heavier than they should, and the garage felt warmer than he remembered it being. He was not tired. His blood oxygen saturation had dropped to 81%. Normal is 95 to 100%. At 81%, the brain is receiving approximately a fifth less oxygen than it requires to function clearly. Reaction time slows. Judgment deteriorates. The ability to recognize that your judgment is deteriorating deteriorates alongside it. This is the specific cruelty of carbon monoxide poisoning. It does not send you a signal you can trust. It corrupts the signal-sending apparatus first. By the time you feel wrong enough to wonder what is wrong, you are already wrong enough that wondering is harder than it should be. Marcus sat on the floor, felt warm and fuzzy and tired. He did not think about the car. The car was still running. Garage door was still closed. What saved Marcus was not Marcus. It was his neighbor's dog, a golden retriever named Bucket, who had gotten out of a backyard 3 houses down and arrived at Marcus's garage door at minute 24, making the specific kind of noise that dogs make when something is wrong. They cannot explain why they know, but they know. Marcus's wife heard the dog. She came out to see what was happening. She opened the garage door from the outside. The wave of cold November air that entered the garage in the first 3 seconds of that door opening was the difference between this being a story Marcus tells and a story someone tells about Marcus. His wife saw him sitting on the floor. She did not understand what she was seeing for approximately 2 seconds. Then she smelled the exhaust. Then she understood completely. She got him out of the garage and called emergency services. Marcus sat on the driveway in the cold and breathed air that was doing what air is supposed to do, and the color came back into his face over the next several minutes. In a way, she said, she will never forget watching. He was in the hospital for 14 hours. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy, 100% oxygen delivered at pressure to force the carbon monoxide off the hemoglobin it had occupied, and replace it with what was supposed to be there. His carboxyhemoglobin level on arrival at the emergency room was 31%. Symptoms become severe above 25%. Loss of consciousness occurs above 40%. Death follows shortly after. Marcus arrived at 31%. The door opened at minute 24. The math on what happens at minute 25 is not complicated. Marcus kept the Honda. He fixed everything that needed fixing. He drives it to this day. But there are 2 things in his garage now that were not there before. A carbon monoxide detector, mounted at workbench height on the wall nearest the car, not ceiling height the way most people install them. This carbon monoxide is almost the same density as air and distributes evenly throughout a space rather than rising the way smoke does. Workbench height. The height at which a person standing in a garage will encounter the concentration that exists in the air they are actually breathing in a habit. Every time he starts the car inside the garage for any reason at all, he reaches up and pulls the manual release on the garage door first. Every time. Not most times. Not when he remembers. Every time. He told his neighbor about the dog. He told her Bucket had saved his life. She said Bucket does that sometimes. Just knows when something is wrong. And Marcus said he was going to buy Bucket the best dog treats money could buy for the rest of Bucket's life. He has kept that promise every month for 3 years. A car engine at idle. Garage door that stayed closed 11 minutes longer than it should have. 240 times the affinity. That is all it took. Carbon monoxide killed more than 400 people in the United States last year from non-fire-related incidents. The majority of those incidents involved a running engine in an enclosed or partially enclosed space. Many of them involved someone who stepped away for just a minute. Someone who was almost done. Someone who had done the same thing a dozen times before without incident. The incident is not announced in advance. It arrives on a Tuesday evening while you are thinking about an oil filter. It arrives invisible and odorless and patient. And the only thing standing between you and the math of minute 25 is a working detector at the right. Height on the right wall? Check yours tonight, not tomorrow, tonight. Because Marcus had a dog named Bucket 3 houses down. You may not be that lucky.